Fill us in on the Nationals offer. Is that still out there, or was that a take it or leave it, and it's not there, the 10-year, $300 million deal that was reported at the end of the season?
Yeah, from everything I understand, that went off the table when free agency started or right around that time. And from everything I've heard and everybody that I've talked to, and, I'm not trying to paint myself as a Nationals beat reporter, and certainly I don't, blow up Mike Rizzo's cell phone or anything like that. You guys have a much tighter relationship with Mike Rizzo. From what I know, Mike Rizzo has moved on, and baseball operations has moved on. And I think if Mike Rizzo had his way, he'd rather, again, move on without Bryce Harper, or the way it's currently constructed, or the way he's currently constructed his roster. So I believe that offer is off the table. Now, do the Nationals still have an ability to get in there and be on the periphery? Even though John Heyman, yes, I believe it was, said that the Nationals are not guaranteed that right. Yeah, I believe absolutely they still have a chance here to, before this thing is signed, sealed, and delivered, to match something, to get in there before, again, it's absolutely done. Sure, I do believe that, because we all know the unique relationship that the Lerners and Boris have carved out. And by the way, it would be embarrassing. I don't know how you guys feel about this. After all the sleeping together these two sides have done over the years, it would be embarrassing if the Lerners did not get the opportunity to do a final match here, regardless of how upset Boris was about what Mark said on this radio station a couple of months ago to Grant and Danny. To me, it would be embarrassing.
Yeah, Chris, we just went around the room basically giving predictions as to where Bryce would sign. And I said, look, if the Nats have the last crack at it and 310 is the best that's on the table, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ted Lerner goes over Rizzo's head and says, look, I'm going to put $325 or $330 million out there, and we're going to keep this guy as our franchise cornerstone for the next decade.
Yeah, here's the problem. If you believe Jim Bowden, Cakes, if you believe Jim Bowden, and I tend to believe Jim Bowden. I'm not saying I fully believe Jim Bowden. I don't know if I fully believe myself, if I fully believe John Heyman, Jim Bowden, whatever. This information is so weird and hard to come by. He's saying it's more than Giancarlo Stanton, and that means more than 325. And if we're talking more than 325, I don't know. I don't know how they go there. There's 92, right?
92 or 93, one
yeah,
of the two, yeah.
I know they've got more money than they know what to do with, but they hold this ridiculous, in my opinion, staunch, we have to adhere to this strict budget, even though we're $5.2 billion, billionaires, and we have more money than we know what to do with, again, type people, and we could do whatever we want, and we've made all this money, and again, we don't know what to do with all this money because we don't have the Masson deal. Well, look, I get it. I understand they got screwed on the Masson deal. I get it. I understand that. But the bottom line is they could do whatever they want. They just don't ever seem to want to do that. So to me, if Bowden is correct with his latest report last night, it's more than 25. I don't see them going there, especially if, again, Rizzo is pushing, as I believe he is, so hard to close the door and say, guys, you told me to move on. You told us it was a move it or leave it type deal, and they left it, and we moved on, and we built our team. This is going to compromise not only what we want to do the rest of this year, but also in the future years if we bring this guy back at 310, 315, 320, 330, whatever the final total might turn out to be.
Where do you think we are in terms of time frame? It felt like it was heating up this weekend, like culminating in maybe something happening today, tomorrow, very, very soon.
Yeah, and initially I was told it would probably wrap up within a couple of days, meaning I was led to believe, like early this week, and then as of yesterday, I just heard not yet. you know. But then I know, again, Bowden said, and Bowden really on Saturday morning said they were rounding third heading to home with Philadelphia. And Heyman and Nightingale all said, you know, Philadelphia, clear front runner, blah, 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 should be fine, heating up, intensifying all this stuff. And again, Philadelphia was the team they chose to go forward with, but, out of the team that they chose first to kind of move forward with. So if we are to believe all of this, right, and put these puzzle pieces together, it likely should be done by the end of this week. But here's what I would always caution everyone with. You guys just went through your whole situation, right? You all know that it takes some time for lawyers on both sides to go through everything. And here's the one thing that we always forget. People, get impatient with this. Scott Boras is a master manipulator. He is trying and desperately trying to work every avenue. He is trying to screw the system. He's trying to screw the Nationals. He's trying to work over the Phillies, and he better damn well be careful because remember, they have an interest in Mike Trout, and I don't know if they could eventually add Bryce Harper now and Mike Trout in 2 years. And he is trying to screw over the Giants and the Padres. The Padres are kind of trying to get Machado. They're trying to get Harper. So just be careful if you're Scott Boras by playing this waiting game and trying to hold out for every last damn dollar is what I would say. Just be careful because, other teams are going to close the door and get impatient while you try and sucker out every last damn dollar. I would get a deal done and get my guy into camp because, again, teams are getting largely impatient and they might decide, you know what, we've had enough of your games, like the Nationals apparently have.
If I were Bryce, I'd want to get in camp pretty damn soon too.
He does, Jason, and that's the weird thing.
Well,
he wanted this done by.
He's got the power. He can say, Scott, this is where I want to play. Get me signed. I want to be in camp tomorrow.
One thing I heard last week was they were actually imploring him, meaning his people were imploring him to kind of step up and make a decision, and that's what I think led to the Valentine's Day, kind of like, all right, let's kind of move forward with Philadelphia. Now, I had heard that Philadelphia hadn't made a concrete 100% formal, whatever that means. There's no way that they hadn't made some sort of kind of like mention, verbal, tentative, whatever. I don't know how these things work legally, offer before this, but that they hadn't made a full 100% written offer or whatever the process is until Friday. So maybe that's why this is taking as long as it is. They've got to work out all the different clauses and all the different perks and whatever. So maybe it's just, again, going to take a couple more days here to get it done. And I wouldn't, if I'm Bryce, I want to get there. I want to meet my new teammates. I know a bunch of these guys. We know he's buddies with Rhys Hoskins, if anybody paid attention to that Instagram post. I don't think it's as big of a deal right now, but here's what you do not want to do if you're Bryce Harper. You do not want to go to a new team and show up March 5th or later than that or somewhere around that time, right? Let's just use an arbitrary. You do not want to show up into a locker room as a $300+ million guy because already guys are going to be envious and probably a little bit jelly about that. And then on top of that, you're going to be like, what's up, fellas? And then try and work your way into the fabric of that locker. Get out of here. Like, that's not going to work because you're a little bit cocky. You're a little bit arrogant if you're Bryce Harper. And now you have to work your way into the fabric of that clubhouse and get yourself into baseball shape. And, oh, by the way, as we all know, Major League Baseball starts late March. You don't have until anymore. Work yourself into shape. And if you're going to Philadelphia, you damn well better get off to an early start. And, oh, by the way, Philadelphia's here, the second series of the year, fellas. Could you imagine what that's going to be like at Nationals Park?
Oh, it's must-see TV is what it is.